Hello my friends, today we are going to be upcycling my very first ever crochet project. It is the vest that you see on the screen, and though it is very cute and I still love the colors of the yarn that I chose, it's a very stiff vest and it's a little bit too oversized. I didn't really follow a pattern when I was making this, and I didn't know a whole lot about how different yarn weights and crochet stitches would affect the drape, and so I decided to take it apart and recycle the yarn for a knit project. So I'm going to be doing a waterfall vest, which I think I will get a lot more use out of. I'll show you exactly the inspo for the pattern later, but here's just some videos of me in the morning before my husband gets up out of bed, taking apart this vest. When I made this project, I did it in 2 panels and then did the ribbing for the collar and the armhole, so that's just me showing you the different panels. And then here is the yarn that I ended up with after everything was unraveled. Now, because this yarn is from a pretty new project, I still remember what the brand of the yarn is and the colorway, and so what I did to determine how many yards I had was weigh each ball, and then I entered that information into Ravelry. Ravelry has a database of so many different types of yarns, and it gives you an estimate of how many yards you have based off of the yarn characteristics that come from the label. So this was so helpful for determining how many yards I still had left. Though this is not meant to be a tutorial, I thought I would just give you some insight into the materials that I'm using just in case this video inspires you to make something similar. And then I also thought I would show you the inspiration for this waterfall vest. I'm actually adapting it from a crochet pattern that I found on Pinterest. I'm doing a knit version. The only main difference is that this is worked from side to side and I am working this vest from bottom to top. So I'm having to be a little bit creative with my construction. So because this isn't an existing knit pattern, I'm having to do a little bit of math in order to determine how many stitches to cast on. And so I took the measurements from the crochet pattern for the size that I wanted to create and the gauge that was on the yarn label itself, and did a little bit of geometry in order to determine how many stitches I would need to create my desired width, which is 35.5 inches. Now it was time to cast on. So one piece of advice that I would give you if you are deciding to make something is making sure that you put some sort of ribbing or other non-curling stitch at the bottom of your hem. You'll see later in this video as I progressed, I forgot to do that. I was so excited that I just knit in stockinette from the very beginning, and there is a curl at the bottom of my project. I'm thinking I'll go in with a crochet hook and just add a couple of rows in order to decrease that curl a little bit. I'm also planning on blocking this project, and so that might help as well. But just a little tip, you'll see when I go onto the armholes that I end up using some garter stitch in order to prevent the curl on the armholes. So I would recommend definitely doing that at the bottom of the hem. You'll see that I attempted to do that with the sides of the project, so what will end up being the opening of the vest on the front of my body when I wear it. I attempted to do a micro rib, I suppose we'll call it. So on the knit side, I would do a knit, a purl, and a knit. And on the purl side, I would do a purl, a knit, and a purl. I don't think this was as successful as a garter stitch would be, but I didn't actually learn what a garter stitch was until I was already working on this project. So please learn from my mistakes and make sure that you put something on the edge of your stockinette in order to prevent it from curling. So here is an up close and personal shot of what I was referring to with that micro rib. So I'm on a knit row currently, and so I started with the first stitch being a knit stitch, moved the yarn to the front, did a purl stitch, very slow purl stitch, moved the yarn back to the back side of the work, and then did a knit stitch, and then I continued knitting the rest of the row. Again, I would recommend using something other than this to prevent a curl. I think a garter stitch would be a much more effective way to prevent curling. You'll also notice in this clip that I have a couple stitch markers on my work, and that is marking where I will eventually separate the panel to accommodate for the armholes. So earlier when the math was on the screen, you saw that I had different stitch numbers for the body of the vest and the two front sides of the vest, and I just separated those stitches with a simple stitch marker so that I can keep track of where that split will occur. This is just that micro rib technique from the purl side, so I'm doing a purl for the third stitch from the end, and then the second stitch from the end I'm doing a knit stitch, a very slow knit stitch, and then I will turn the yarn back towards the front and do another purl stitch. Again, I would recommend doing something else or doing more of this alternating pattern to create more of a rib effect, but it was something I was trying, and I think it's better than having nothing there like I do at the bottom. As you can see, there's quite a significant curl at the bottom. This is what that edge looks like. It does look pretty clean, especially for a beginner knitter, but this is just me showing off the striping effect of this yarn. I still think this yarn is so beautiful. I went ahead and did one side of the front just to show you what it looks like. Currently it is sitting on a reserve cable, and here's the garter stitch that I was talking about that I used for the edge of the armhole. I think it looks so much cleaner than the curl that's on the bottom. So since the main body of my vest is still on my original cables, I'm taking another set of 5.5mm cables that I have that's on a shorter cable and a small ball of yarn. So I'm actually not using the same ball of yarn for this other side. I kept the original ball of yarn on the first side that I made, and then once all of the 3 sections are at the right length, I'll join them with that original yarn. And so I'm just going to start off with the mini rib since I'm on the edge, and then I'm on a purl side right now, so I'll purl all the way to the end, and then I'll do that 5 stitches of knit so that I can have a garter stitch border on the end. So here's me doing those 5 knit stitches in order to make a garter stitch border. If you don't know, a garter stitch is made with doing the knit stitch on both sides of your work. And so instead of in stockinette where you do knit stitches on the knit side and purl stitches on the purl side or the wrong side of your work, you do knit stitches on both sides, and it creates this border that doesn't curl.
So I may have forgotten to record me finishing this project. Sorry. But I did say that it wasn't meant to be a tutorial, so you can't be too mad at me. But it's done. It is done. I'll show you a couple pictures of me wearing it because it's just kind of hard to show it to you not on a body, but it's done. After I did all 3 of the panels, I literally just knit across to them to join them. Is it the most perfect way to join panels? No, but does it work? Yes. And then after that, I just knit like normal, and then I did a little garter stitch, not hem, but border, I guess, at the top to keep the top from curling. And I think it turned out really great. I added these little ties in the front in case where's the other one? There it is. In case I want to tie it. And I think that looks really cute. I did block it a little bit, and the curl at the bottom is definitely not as extreme as it was. I kind of like this amount of curl. I think it's cute. I feel like curled, hemmed knitwear is kind of like in right now, so I think it's really cute. It has sort of like a relaxed, casual feel to it, which is nice. I think that the pattern of this yarn is beautiful with the stripes. I love it so much. And I think the purl side looks really neat too. And so when I wear this, you'll be able to see both the knit and the purl side, which I think is really neat. I would definitely change a couple things if I were to do it again. Obviously, I would put a border at the bottom, probably. And I do think I made this a little bit too big, and I think you'll be able to see that in some of the pictures. I think I made the back portion a little bit too wide. I love the length of it. I love the length of the panels in the front, but I do think I made the back a little bit too wide, and you will be able to see there's a little bit of extra room behind my neck, which isn't that big of a deal. You know, I'm going to be wearing this over things, and so when I wear things underneath it, it'll probably look a little bit less pronounced. And I think when I wash it too, it'll probably shrink a tiny bit. Right now all the fibers are really relaxed because I've been like pulling it, and I hung it over my chair to dry yesterday, and so I think right now it's a little bit more relaxed than it will be when I wash it, and specifically when I dry it a little bit too. So yeah, I am happy with this, even if it is a little bit too big. I think the big collar that it gives, and the fact that you can see the purl side on it is really neat. So yeah, this is my finished upcycle project. I definitely think I'm going to get a lot more wear out of this than the crochet vest. Like the drape is already, you can see, just a lot nicer, a lot more fluid looking than what the drape of the vest. I mean, the vest basically didn't have any drape, to be honest. And it was also very, very warm, which can be a good thing, but it was so warm that I was really only getting use out of it when it was like very, very cold dead of winter. And with this, I think I'm going to be able to wear it a lot more in those transition seasons, just because it's not fully enclosed. And if I need to, I can take off the ties and then sort of tuck it to the side to let the front of my body breathe. And so I think it's super cute. I love the way that this yarn worked up. Just the stripes is so beautiful. It's mostly like blue, or not blue. Well, yeah, it's mostly blue, brown, this sort of like beigey color, but then they have little strips of like burgundy and then this like emerald green. It's so pretty. And this is one of those yarns that I think was like designed to be knit with, because it just looks beautiful. I don't think the crochet vest really captured like how stunning this colorway is. So thank you for watching. I hope that this maybe inspired you to upcycle some past projects of yours that didn't necessarily work out, and let me know what you're making next.